Was it only a few days ago that we saw one of the most important and critical moments in the entire lifespan of the professional wrestling industry? Rivaling only a mere amount of other events that you could name from the wrestling industry, such as, I would say, WCW buyout, Montreal Screwjob, maybe Vince McMahon himself buying from his father. Vince McMahon retires from WWE in all roles. He's yeah, he's retired. He stepped down from CEO, what was, I believe, a few weeks ago now, and he was still in creative. He was still the in control of it, and because of the allegations, it kind of, I think, made people, including myself, think what is to come. It was probably been the first time in a while that fans thought that there was some kind of belief that Vince might actually be gone from WWE. And it's something that a lot of fans have kind of thought would bring back the good WWE booking of old, or kind of allow WWE to book well, especially with so much negative kind of backlash from fans about their booking, the way they do it. People thought that it was all Vince. Now, for me personally, I don't know if I can see this as a short term change, short term success for him. But I do think there will probably be a long term success just because of who I think will take over. And it's going to be interesting to see who actually does take over creative. I don't think there's been a report or anything about who is taking over creative. I can see it being Triple H, Steph, Pritchard. Maybe they bring in someone else. Maybe Heyman comes back or Bischoff. I think it will do its best if it's Triple H because we've seen what he did in NXT. I think you can kind of have him as the guy that will allow you to go up and actually book and make good decisions, at least in the fans' eyes, probably. But it's not so much where it is going to go creatively that might also be a problem for them, as things have already kind of changed and there's been negative outcomes already. With it being released on, well, with the statement of his retirement, I believe, coming the day of SmackDown, it's things like what happened with Brock Lesnar on that very SmackDown. It was reported just, I think, a few hours before the show, or it would have been, I think it was half an hour or so before the show, that Brock had left backstage before SmackDown was airing, and they probably had to rewrite the show for it. But he ended up later returning to, I believe it was in the show, to F5 Theory. And it's insane, really, because it's Brock left, and a lot of speculation around it is that it's because Vince retired and he didn't know about it. And the fact that this was his way of going, why didn't Vince tell me? Why didn't I have this kind of knowledge? I guess. And like that isn't confirmed, it's just all speculation, but it's interesting to at least think about this potential effect that it has. Like, if someone like Brock Lesnar, which is one of their biggest stars, excluding all the other part times they bring in, maybe like Roman. Roman's probably the biggest star that's active, and even he's becoming a part timer now. It's interesting to see what this kind of backlash has in terms of, well, if Lesnar stepped away, even if he ended up coming back, how does this help them later or damage them later? It isn't much to be said by the community now, other really than my thoughts on this video, so we'll head into that. So honestly, I'm kind of at a loss for thoughts. I don't really know what is to come because this is unknown. Like, what in my lifetime, the 20 years I've been alive, Vince has been in charge of the entire time. Whether it been WWF, WWF, the Ruthless Aggression era. It is baffling to have Vince not a part of WWE in any capacity. Like, even him stepping down as CEO was, at least for me, as someone that doesn't average. But, there's a script down everything. I still Bumble words. It's something that is weird because him just stepping out as CEO, from what I've seen and heard and stuff, it was weird. No one ever at the time thought that it was going to be a permanent fixture, like a permanent change, and it is, and it's weird. Like whether he was on screen as a character or backstage in grill position, he was a focal point of WWE. Really, they had a creative, the big, like the probably the best bad guy in professional wrestling when he was Mr. McMahon in the Attitude Era, facing Stone Cold, and even like going to the next era, Ruthless Aggression and bit of PG era, is he was still a decent part of programming. It was only really recently that he stopped. I remember he was out for the Punk, leaving on Money in the Bank 2011. He's got the Theory stuff now. I think he had some stuff a year or two ago. He had the Money in the Bank when it was the corporate one. But it's weird because he's spent what's probably been decade. Oh, I can't remember. I should research this, but like for me, it's been 2 decades, and for so many people, it's probably been 3 or 4. And it's so baffling to kind of now be in a world where Tony Khan is the longest running wrestling CEO, and it's now without Vince. But to like talk about what's next for Dory without Vince being there, I don't think there's a direct answer. I don't think there will be a direct answer until at least a year on from this. I think maybe next year's Mania could be a decent telling point, but not even really that. It's something that, like I've said just before, that I watch the pay per views really for the AW, watch YouTube clips to keep up to the stuff that I'm interested in. I don't, I'm not a part of this, of the, what, 1 million people that watch Raw or SmackDown or even Dynamite every week. It doesn't interest me watching those and putting aside an hour to, well, putting aside 2 to 3 hours. I like pay-per-views and then YouTube. I watch Wrestle Talk to gain opinions and thoughts on the world of wrestling, both inside the ring and backstage. And kind of with all that experience and thoughts, I do see this as being a slow burn of positives and negatives, in the sense that I can see WWE failing a bit at the start, like falling down a bit in terms as they try building new stars, because I don't think they'll be able to bring back as many stars as what they have been, because a lot of people that have been a part of WWE have, at least I think Cena said, Taker said it, I think Brock has said it, even Rock has. Maybe Austin did as well. But some people of that like agitator into the early Ruthless Aggression see Vince as this like father figure, and without that guy trying to get you come back, I don't know if you'll get the John Cena returns, the Rock returns, Taker coming back. Like it's really weird because I think they will build new stars. I think people like Theory, AJ, Balor, Shinsuke, Braun Breaker, even they can probably benefit more from a this change of creative. Especially if I like my expectation is Triple H will take over some stage of it. I think he's proven himself that he can do it. And I think that also allows for more connection between NXT with Michaels doing NXT, Triple H doing main roster. But yeah, I think it might affect pulling power because you don't have Vince. And with Lesnar like leaving SmackDown and coming back, I do think that then questions that pull even more when like Brock is contracted to WWE and he left. It's not like it's another person that's walked out, even though he came back. But like, look at Banks and Naomi; they walked out because of creative. And that was with Vince doing creative. Does that therefore mean that more people walk out for bad creative because they don't have this like Vince figure? They have someone that maybe they don't know as well. But like, that's the thing. It's like, who benefits from it? And honestly, I don't think you can tell until they make an announcement or the Bleacher reports and backstage reports come out going who is taking over creative. Because as I've mentioned so much, I think it's Triple H, but because of his health condition, the reason he didn't go back to NXT was because of his health. is he in a state where he can do it? You don't know. But I think there will be probably better characters and stories, hopefully. Because I think if the league stays with its native kind of stories and there's still backlash against stories, I don't think there'll be much change. I honestly think you'll probably get more negative backlash from fans early on, especially if they announce who's taking it over. But I think they have to give it to Triple H at least some stage. I think it could turn into more of a split creative rather than having Vince and everyone below him. It could be 3 or 4 people at that top level, a bunch of people below that, and more people below and below. And I can't wait for that. Like, I can't wait to see what is happening. It's kind of given me that interest to watch, or like, at least keep up to date more with WWE. As kind of in the past, I would say 6 to 12 months, I'd kind of stopped caring about anything WWE. Like, I'll watch the theory clips and then I'll watch like 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 pay-per-views. I'm kind of more focused on the Dynamite and AEW now because I think that the stories and the breakdowns I get from watching Wrestle Talk, really, it allows me to have more interest in it because the stories are a lot more complex. Or at least there's so many more options that people discuss with AEW than they do with WWE. But it is really going to be something that only time will tell, especially if it's beneficial or not to WWE, because it's going to become something that it's going to question, I think, choices possibly by superstars and wrestlers about either staying or going to WWE. Maybe they get more greater control, maybe they get less somehow. But it's really something that I think mentioned earlier, it will take 6 to 12 months minimum to get a proper feeling on what is happening with it because it is really just all speculation at this point. And if you look at any people's videos, there won't be much actual like hard set proof because you don't know how people react to stuff like this. You don't know how people will go after this, and you won't know until that happens. Like, you can speculate as much as you want on the future. All you can think about is what's happening at the current time, and we don't have anything at the current time. So, well, there you go. That's my opinion about probably 10 minutes worth of me talking about Vince retiring and what it means for WWE. If you did enjoy this and want to hear more from me, then hit the subscribe button. Couldn't do it, could we? The subscribe button and the video should be out in a week. We're trying to do each this time in Australian Eastern Standard Time every Monday at about 7 p.m. I'm gonna try getting back to streaming. I've been saying that for probably 2 months now. I haven't done it, but yeah, hopefully it'll be out next week. But before that, why not check out the video right somewhere on the screen? There'll be a video somewhere. Probably like probably like there. We'll see. It's probably around there. Click on that. That one has been given to you by YouTube. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you hopefully next week for another video. Tell me in the comments if you have any other ideas for me to do. Enjoy this video.